Doesn't everybody love wiring? Let's talk about how to get the factory RX8 AC compressor working with a Holley HP when not using the factory ECU. Here I have a diagram of kind of how the factory system works. The AC amplifier provides a switched ground, and the ECU has a circuit running through the pressure switch to determine if pressure is appropriate to run the compressor. If the AC sees that power is flowing through this circuit, then it will activate the switched side of the AC relay, and AC power will run all the way through this relay to the clutch to ground, and you'll have the compressor running. If we're running a Holley and we're not using the factory ECU to decide when it's appropriate to run the AC compressor clutch or turn on the fans, we have to make some changes to the circuitry. There are two main things we need. We need to tell Holley that the AC is actually on and the compressor is running so that it can raise idle speed and turn on the fans. And we also need to be able to let Holley turn off the AC compressor clutch if you have a situation where you're, say, full throttle. You really wouldn't want to run the AC compressor at, say, 7,500 RPMs. That would be really hard on the system, and we don't need problems like that. So we're going to talk about how to revise this circuit with a 5-pin relay. We're using a 5-pin relay because the circuit inside of it, we've got an additional pin that's normally closed, and that will allow continuity through this circuit unless the Holley says, hey, no, turn that off. It looks a little bit complicated. It's really not. Going through the circuit, let's talk about the AC relay. Most of the switched side of the AC relay is the same. The only difference is on the output that goes to the AC compressor clutch, we're going to tap into that and feed that to one of Holley's 0 to 20 volt inputs so that it can tell when the AC is on. And when that goes high, there's logic in the Holley software to where you can do things like kick the idle speed up, turn on the fans, whatever you need to do. The switching side of things, that's where things get a little more complicated. We have to move some pins around, like I said, and we have to add another AC shutoff relay. The AC shutoff relay, let's talk about the switching side of that just to see how it turns on and off. We're going to apply switched power. There are plenty of power sources to find switched power on this car. Over in the passenger side engine bay fuse box thing where the ECU was, there's like 3 or 4 that you're not going to use. If you're not using the factory ECU, you can just grab one of those and run it to pin 85. Then pin 86 of that relay will go to the Holley ground output. There are 2 available on, say, a HP. That way you can have Holley turn on this relay to disable the AC system. The reason we're using a 5-pin relay instead of a 4-pin relay is it has a pin 87A that's normally connected to pin 30. When the circuit comes on, it flips over to pin 87, which is not going to be populated. So by default, if the AC amplifier provides ground, we're going to be able to run switched power through the AC relay coil, the switching side of that. We'll run it through our 5-pin relay. It'll go through pin 30 straight to pin 87 through a pressure switch, and assuming pressure is appropriate, it will be able to ground through the AC amplifier. So since this part of the circuit is hot, this circuit will also be hot and allow current to flow through to the AC compressor clutch and to Holley to let it know things are coming on. This looks like a lot of wiring. It really isn't. So when you add this 5-pin relay, you're going to take out the connection for pin 87 because you're not going to run anything to that. It's just going to be open when this is active. Run switched power to pin 85. Run a wire to Holley on pin 86. And we're going to take some pins from the factory ECU. The one that goes from the factory ECU to the pressure switch is going to go to pin 87A. That's a light green and blue pin, and it's on position 4W. Then the pin on the ECU that used to ground the AC relay to turn it on, we're going to run that to pin 30 of the relay. That is a green and black wire from ECU position 5AA. So if you move those around, if you cut those, run those to the fuse box. I recommend extending this one because it's a little short. Then as long as you have pressure going through the pressure switch and there isn't a ground to the Holley ground output, you will be able to turn on your AC clutch just by turning on the AC in the car. Then Holly can turn it off. Holly knows when it's on. Everything works. Let me show you that in actual practice. Here is the pressure switch for the Mazda. I have a couple pins jumped because I don't actually have an air conditioning system in this car, so I don't have any pressure to get it above the threshold where it'll actually activate with the pressure switch. The switched ground comes into this on the red and white wire from the AC amplifier, and it used to go to the ECU on the light green and black pin. So now that light green and black pin, I have that running, and I did have to solder and extend that so it turns into a black and red pin that runs up to the pin 87A here on the middle of my 5-pin relay. Then for the pin 30, I have that running to the green and black wire that I pulled from the factory ECU back to the fuse box. And that's the one that actually will run to the AC relay to turn it on. Now, I kind of like changing the pins on these relays that you buy off Amazon or wherever so that they make a little more sense. The switching side of it's going to be the white wires, and the switched side of it are the black wires. This white wire here is going to go back to Holly, and when that sees ground, it will disable the AC clutch. The other wire, this white and blue wire, that came from the fuse box on the passenger side, and that is hot when the car is in run and start, etc. So that's as complicated as a 5-pin relay is. I pulled out pin 87 and blocked that off with a plug so that we don't have any moisture get in the relay. And I'm going to tuck this either on the outside or inside of the bottom of the factory fuse box. So that's the kind of messy part of the project, but the fun part about the project is you can walk over to the car, turn the key on, and when we turn the AC on, you can hear the AC clutch outside actuating it. So let's go back out there and play with the 5-pin relay. And again, said relay is not energized by default. So here's the AC compressor clutch. I'm going to connect the output that goes to one of the Holly pins to the block, and you can see when that relay activates, AC compressor clutch lets go and AC is disabled. So that's that.